Hello and welcome to the Friday wrap up presented by the Goxstein News Network. I'm your host, Landy. Today is August 8th, 2025, and we're going to look at Bitcoin here on the daily to start. We'll then move up to the weekly, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Ethereum, as Ethereum did hit one of the key areas of overhead resistance just above $4,000. And we're going to take a look at that and kind of see what the potential is for ETH maybe pushing through and some areas of interest on any rejections there. But for Bitcoin, since we last spoke on Wednesday, we did, of course, on Wednesday have the high come in right at the bottom side of our overhead area of interest here. You know, the area that was support that was lost was being tested as overhead resistance. We finally got Bitcoin moving through, and that was the 115,700 to 116 area. And then we got the extra move to right around that 117,800, 118 near the top side. Now, it didn't hit it. And the criteria to keep pushing on for the bulls here would be a close above, especially on the daily, not just trading above, but a close above 118. Then I would look to right around kind of the midline of this range where the upper first is, somewhere around the 119 area, upper 118 area. If the bulls can get above there, then of course I'd be looking for the 120 to 121 up here by the upper second. Any closes on the daily above there will open up targets back to the all-time high, somewhere around $123 to $125,000. And of course, I'll pull the fib here in a minute, but the local 1414 extension and the macro 1414 extension there at $128 to $130,000, that's going to be up there when I do pull that again for you. Now, if the bulls do fail to hold this area, it's going to play back into, obviously, if we see closes below 115,700, you know, it's really playing between that area about 115.7 to 116, and of course the lower low down here at that 112 area. If we do see any closes below there, and yes, things can, price can go wick fishing if it did head back down there and swing it. Obviously, there's some daily areas of interest around the 110.5 by the lower third there. But I really would be looking at any kind of closes below there as, the price possibility for the range being down to that 109. Bulls need to hold that. If they lose it, then it's right back to the base where this move originated, right around the 108, low 107 region, around 107,270. Bulls would want, that's kind of the last place that bulls want to be fighting for their lives for structure. But in the macro, I mean, it still wouldn't mean too much in the macro. On the weekly, it would start to paint a little bit of a different picture. But very, very clear levels. Bulls pushing into this overhead zone of resistance. If we can see a flip and a close above that 118, then we're looking at, essentially the ability for the bulls to start running to 120, 121 by that upper second. And that's where things get interesting, is on any closes above 121, right? And that remains to be seen whether or not we're going to, I think it remains to be seen because it is a weekend. Whether or not we're going to get any kind of move or not is something that sometimes we have seen some moves over the weekend, and then other times it's been quiet. And it's really all about futures open on Sunday and CME open on Sunday. That's really when I start to pay attention again, unless there's something really happening on a Saturday candle, which is open right now. And you can see that it's right there on the basis band. Which is, well, it's slightly below it. The basis band is the 20 simple, and it's right around that 116,720. If it starts to trade above there in lower term timeframes, then we can look up to that 118 level, right around the highs here, where it's coming in just shy of that 117.8 to 118 or so. When looking at the weekly, let's go ahead and take off the support and resistance areas of interest here for a moment. Go out to the weekly chart. And you can see, we did have the higher high that was put in up here. Obviously, full structure here. We can get on the screen. Let's go ahead and make that actually nice looking for you. Now, we had the break of structure, higher low, higher high. It's really all about holding this higher low down here at 101 to the 98,225. That's where, there's some problems with structure, not necessarily on the macro, because the macro low for the monthly is this low down here at around the 78, 3 to 4 area, with that low wick coming in at 74, 420.69. Got to say it every time. But there is something interesting happening here in terms of the bands, right? We do have the basis band. We're closing anywhere around the upper first. It's going to move up significantly, probably somewhere around the 106, probably somewhere between these two swings here, and above. More importantly, is I'm looking for the basis band to get above the 104, 445, 104.5 area. I do believe that's going to happen. Of course, as long as Bitcoin is closing above the basis band, I believe that's going to happen this Sunday. And that's a really good sign to see it above the prior closing all-time high. Even better when it's above the prior swing all-time that high there at, the 108.4 area. But that is a good thing. We should also see that lower first in this case start to move up. I don't know how significant it's going to be. Probably the mid to low 90s. But the longer the Bitcoin can hang up here on the weekly for closes, we'll see it start to. This is what I'd want to see, is that lower first standard deviation, or one standard deviation away to the downside, away from the basis band here, above this last higher low. That starts to look really, really good. And there's nothing wrong with structure right here, right now. Yes, we did just get a high put in. This is still a high. It's not in danger, but I'm going to show you Ethereum's actually doing something pretty interesting. This has the potential, if we do see the upper first closed above, which is going to move up. So close open might end up, below the upper first. But if we do see it closed above, we're going to see that upper second, push back up towards, it's just shy of that 128, but it's going to push up towards that 128 to 130 area on its next close, maybe even 130. We'll see. 129, 130 if it closes exactly here. But obviously there's still 2 days to go in terms of the rest of the Saturday candle and the Sunday candle close. Things to be aware of. No real in-trend divergences going on here. We do have the stochastic momentum oscillator here is, twisted down here and is projected to head down, but, it's a bullish structure. This is a counter trend momentum signal, and it would also throw a little bit of a divergence here, but it's still, there's nothing really concerning at this moment. When looking back at the daily, I'm curious. Yeah, so daily's pointed up for stochastic momentum. I would be aware of divergences forming on the daily if it does, even when it does start to push, if it does start to push, rather, I should say. When and if it starts to push above, be aware of bearish divergence coming from some of the structure over here. And, it's really about this last high. Need to see if it does push on through, need to see closes above that last high, which is right around on a close at 119, 465, with the swing up there, that 119.8, really just defining kind of right around that 120. Basically it closes below 120. It's going to throw bearish divergence essentially off there, but realistically, we're probably going to see bearish divergence start to form, even if it does start to push up. Need to see some higher highs though, obviously. So that's not really something to be worried about at this particular moment. Obviously, it's right in the resistance at this moment. We need to see if it can even push through. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. So Ethereum had a beautiful daily close, came right up to the 888. Of course, this is from the prior cycle. The 888 is right there at $4,020 essentially. Ethereum's right on it. Nice compression to expansion. Now, when we last spoke, it was recovering, and I had mentioned it, a recovery of this 3750 essentially is what I wanted to see to go and test the 3930, and we got a test immediately thereafter on the Thursday candle, and then a nice move above to hit 4K, which was something that I had been talking about. We need to see closes above there. Right, we've seen this is also on expansion, so this actually looks good. Ethereum's kind of given hope to the rest of the market at this moment. This is an expansive posture. And we want to see it get continuation, of course, above yesterday's high, $4,071. That would look really good, but it is a weekend. I don't like when these moves occur very close to the weekends. You can see how the weekly is right up against that 888. And you might notice something here. The last 1, 2, 3 times that we were up here never closed above that 888 fib level. I would like to see it close above there. Then we can start looking at 4,400. And I imagine we'll continue to see Bitcoin dominance plumb the lows around that 60% and possibly break down from there if that was to occur, considering the position that both are in at this point. ETH is in a pretty strong position. Obviously did put in the high over here. That is now basically right to the high, to a swing high or low and then up. This is a nice candle. I mean, it didn't swing down to eat up that low, but this is a nice bullish candle. If it can close anything like this or even push further this weekend, and especially on the weekly, get above that upper second, it's going to look really good to go test 4,400. And that's where the rubber meets the road, because just above there, obviously that would be the highest high that we've seen since the prior all-time highs. On a closing basis, we haven't quite hit the swing high up here at, 4,100, 4,110 area, but, this would look really good above this upper second, right where the 888 is lining up at that $4,020, and then go and push 4,400. And then we're right back into the next big area would be, the 4630 to, 4870 or so. You could really just call it, 46 to 49. And then above there, this can run. What's the potential if it does it? I'd be looking at, I'll probably pull some on Monday and check on this, obviously after the weekly close. But for macro, 6,500 to 7K is fair game. That's 16.8% above the prior cycle high to low. 7,500 to 7,750, definitely on in the cards. And I would even say, could 9 to 10K be in the cards as well, for sure. Yeah, it actually is a viable target. You're going to get really extreme. There are some people looking for 14 to 15,000 off of that 1.618 or 61.8% above the prior cycle highs. That'd be nuts. One step at a time, and there is local areas of interest above the prior cycle high as well before even getting to the 6,500. Obviously 5K is going to be very big, so a break above there, I could easily see things going for 6,500, especially on longer term time frame closes like the weekly. Let's go ahead and take a look at this weekly again. Yeah, it's getting kind of stretched out, but it can hang out up here. And it's going to be about the closes and the volatility metrics. Volatility is still pretty high, so we just need to see ETH break above and hold above. We need to see close over close, not just a break above, although that would look good. We want to see continuation through to next week. What is the daily looking like? Let me go ahead and, stochastic momentum looks good. Beware of bearish divergence from the local structure here after the big sell-off. It will build, but we need to see some higher highs just continue on. I mean, the first time that this puts in a high, it's going to, it's gonna throw a bear div, but that's corrective. And this is a nice little, it is a nice little swing higher low structure, but this is really a downtrend break on a close. This is just a downtrend break to downtrend. Uptrend break to downtrend break. So we had the uptrend break on the lower low and the downtrend break on the closing higher highs up here. So this looks really good, very strong at this particular moment, but big butts, and I will not lie. You need to see on any kind of correction now. Bulls want to see that 3750 hold up by the basis band to the bottom side there. Can swing through down to 36 to 36.35 here. Anywhere lower than that, and it's starting to get in danger. Kind of the base here on the daily, where it kind of took off from around the 3550, 3500 area. If it starts to drop that, it's over. It's back to this low again. To see if we can find support on that 786. It looks good. The setup definitely favors the bulls here. They just need to get continuation. It's a big zone of resistance. So I mean, realistically, I'd like to see them rip it off like a Band-Aid and just shoot through, but it is a weekend, so we'll find out what they got in store, right? Let's see. What else did I want to take a look at? There was something else that I was thinking about looking at. Where would Bitcoin put a high in on the daily? So Friday candle low is where we would see a high. And of course, this is a swing downtrend, a swing downtrend break, right? So the swing highs here are broken. Nice low there at that 112,630. That's really, it's essentially this low close here for the bear candle at 114.1 to that 12,600 area. That's the area that needs to hold if we did see the 115.7 dropped. Now 115.8 just so happens to be yesterday's low. That's where we would see a high locked in. So you could be more aggressive and take that. But it is still within this swing low over here. So I would just, exercise caution. Keep an eye on those lower term time frames. So, I think that's all I really got for you this Friday. The weekly close is going to be important. The sell off late last month and early this month, it's not that concerning. I know some of the economic data is kind of freaking some people out, but I think people are making a mountain out of a molehill at this particular moment. And, I think that, thus far, there's nothing that I'm seeing that is like overly concerning to warrant some of the really ultra bearish takes that I've been seeing. Could it turn that way? Sure. But anybody that's trying to pick it out right here, right now, as it stands, is they're counter trend trading the higher term time frames, which is, if they end up right, great for them, but it's much higher risk. So I'd say wait for confirmation, and we'll see what the bulls have in store for us this weekend in through to Monday when I will talk to you again. Please go ahead and like and share these videos if you did enjoy them. And I want you all to have a wonderful weekend. And I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all of that being said, Landy out. Talk to you Monday.